down on the farm. Learned about loving in a country girl's arms.
I'm James Blundell. Welcome back to my Down on the Farm podcast every fortnight. This is part 2 of a wonderful conversation with the indie folk roots rock band Welter from Sydney. We're having a ball when we quit last time. There's much more to come. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Welter on Down on the Farm.
Strong today.
Yeah.
We still have a lot to say to one another.
Yeah.
And not only that, we're good mates as well, but we have a very strong musical conversation as well.
Look, you raise a really, really valid point there too, that very rarely, I have 2 favourite drummers. One's my oldest son, and I guess there's a genetic reason that we have a similar heartbeat there, but another bloke called Mick Skelton, and he writes, and to work as a singer-songwriter, to work with a percussionist or a rhythm keeper who is a writer, that's a completely different paradigm, and you've just articulated it beautifully, because you're not just going, what should the kick be doing? You're actually part of the song, and I think that that will always give a much richer palette, or a broader palette than just your linear rhythm section, and hope to Christ the guitar player stays in time. That's a really.
That's why you don't allow guitarists to count songs in.
That's right. You just can't trust them. And again, we touched on before. You emerged at a really, really interesting period of time. I actually bailed out of Australia mid-90s because my sort of commercial genre, as we've said before, I have a really broad love of music, but it had been pretty much kicked into the weeds by, if you remember, just before that great indie explosion was pretty much formation dance and a whole heap of things that I was just going, I really have nothing in common with the music that is starting to get the center stage. And so personally, it was a huge relief when that harsher, rawer, more honest sort of things started to happen. But you were right at the sharp end of that. So did you have, what for you marked that evolution in the Sydney scene, or in the music scene in general, but in Sydney? Because as we said earlier, it wasn't an easy city back then. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah, a lot of competition, and we toured for 5 years, pretty much from 95 to 2000, supporting our first album, Satellite Generation, and we got great reviews. We got some airplay, and we got some push, and up and down the coast, and squeezing it all into a van. So for us, there were other bands doing it at the same time, doing the independent trip. And there was also the independent distributor that we were working with at the time.
Was it
MGM?
MGM. And
MGM.
So there was a big push of just doing it yourself. And we spent a lot of time, I remember, Dave, the mailing list that we used to do. I used to do every month or 2 months. I'd do a mailing list. I think it was about 300 people. So a bundle of letters underneath my arm of what's going on in Welterland, and up and down the coast, and just collecting people's data. So that, sort of like the early idea of direct marketing, but without computers. Yeah.
All hard copy.
Yeah.
Hard copy. So we were following in Whitlam's footsteps, and they were with MGM too. And there are a swathe of other sort of indie bands, and we're going, that's the way we do it.
Yeah. And you had record shops like Red Eye Records.
Yeah.
And those types of shops that were really, really street based.
Yeah.
And nearly anyone could go and get their album, sold at a record shop like Red Eye Records and those sorts of things, It's really moved on from that now.
And it's one of the things I really feel sorry for younger artists, that they haven't had that sort of very tactile, visceral. I remember Red Eye on a big day, you couldn't move in that place, because and people would browse, and half of them wouldn't buy anything they'd be in there for 45 minutes and sort of come out going, I didn't buy anything. But there was that massive, real interaction. El, you brought up something that I think so few musicians are privileged to experience, but busking is in my opinion the most confrontational mode of performance that you can throw yourself into, because by the time you have a reputation and some recorded product, there is an identity apparent. But when you wind up on a street on the other side of the world, quite often when English is second language, the only thing you've got is your talent, you know. And halfway through your second song, you're in a cold sweat, no one's stopping you going, maybe I haven't got that much talent.
It is extremely confronting. You've
definitely
hit the nail on the head. Yeah. You're very confronting.
I've lost a lot more cold sweat on sidewalks than I have in stadiums, I can tell you.
You've got the protection of the fold back wedges, the stage, you know, you've got the protection of the lights. There's no protection out there with a guitar case in front of you.
No.
And I certainly knew that several times, but anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it's gold. I'm absolutely enamored with the title of the upcoming work, Catching Lightning. Terry MacArthur, my colleague, who I know you've spoken to, Pride now, I love his words, it's fantastic. But he had the perfect question: how does one go about catching lightning, and what's the metaphor, is that, if there is one, to the body of work?
I actually wrote this about a very, very close friend of mine who might be in the same room as me, who had a nasty breakup, and so the song itself, we're not going to play it today, unfortunately, but please look out for it, is a breakup song. So it's about where the magic of relationships and the sparks and the electricity of a relationship are falling away. And so the opening line is, we're not catching lightning anymore. We stay inside all day and watch the rain fall. And it's about just a relationship ending. And so, yeah, you don't go catching lightning, but there is a spark between a great relationship. And when that spark dies, the relationship dies.
Well, you know, Joni Mitchell put it beautifully. I've seen some red hot blazes come down to smoke and ash, you know, and unfortunately, I guess fortunately, and I'm guessing that all three of us have lived through those things where there's the sadness is about the loss of something that was beautiful, and the rest of it is reasonably academic, because you untangle and you go your separate ways, and hopefully if you're reasonable people in a decade, you get in touch and have a laugh about some of the stuff that happened, particularly if there are children involved. But with the creation of songs that are so immediate, I think you don't realize how many people are going through the same situations. And as I said earlier on the piece, I think one of the great privileges of what we do is people feel a little less lonely, and that you get a chance to hear an objective perspective on what you're going through. This next song,
Do Storm Damage.
What is Storm Damage?
Yeah, there we go. Storm Damage. Storm damage. Somehow we'll make it through. Somehow we'll manage. We'll leave that stick of glue. Picking up all the broken pieces. How the hell they ever fit. Storm damage. Don't say you're gonna quit. Oh, when you hold me, I can feel you breaking too. When you hold me, can't help but love you. Storm damage, I just can't go by the book. Shattered self-image, no one stops to take a look. Rivers up over the main road out, all the trees are lying down. Storm damage, no chance to leave this town. Oh, when you hold me, I can feel you breaking too. When you hold me, can't help but love you. up and love you. Count up, yeah, yeah, yeah. Count up. Put up a sun through the dark clouds. Help is kind of on its way. Storm damage, we'll get through this okay. Ah, when you hold me, I can feel you breaking too. When you hold me, can't help but love you. Can't help but love you. Can't help but love you. I can't help but love you. Love you. Storm damage. Storm damage. Storm damage. Storm damage. Storm damage. I can't help but love you. Storm damage. I can't help but love you. I can't help but love you.
So apparent that you guys have played a lot of music together. Dynamic in that. Oh, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just, you know, you get to a certain stage where you are hardened to music, and a lot of it's great. But not much of it makes you go wow, and you know that's seamless, and it just every time reminds me of the strength of duo and trio pieces. There's so much dynamic in there that you add much more to that, and you start to get in the road of the whole idea. You know, that's a really spectacular piece of music. As performance artists, probably the thing that none of us ever saw coming has happened, where we didn't do anything for 2 years. You didn't go anywhere, and I'm still incredulous. Now, even 6 months away from the worst of it, it's like it never happened to a degree. Everybody seems to have gone back to work. But how did COVID affect you? Was it did it propel creativity? Did you take a break, or what? How did you cope with it?
We've got two answers to this question. I'm going to go the first one, and then I'm going to hand over to Dave. But I do lots of things. I work as a salesman. I work as a corporate trainer. I work as an actor. I'm a father. I'm a partner. You know, you put so many hats on. And the great thing about COVID is it stilled the waters. I actually got a chance to stop and just bar. And as you know, mate, writing is you need a blank sheet in front of you. And we very rarely get a bloody blank sheet. So I had a blank sheet for the first time, and I was able to self-reflect, and hell, self-reflection is the hardest and ugliest of reflections, because it's the waters are so murky and you get a really weird perspective of yourself. But I managed to, in the height of lockdown, and I was in Canterbury Bankstown, so we couldn't go 5Ks. We were in the guts of the lockdown. I managed to escape with memory. I managed to escape with stories that I've lived prior. And so I went back to some great times growing up. I grew up on a farm in Tassie. I went to lots of folk festivals. My dad loved folk. And so I got the mandolin out and I started writing stuff on mandolin, which is a different way of writing for myself as well. And so I actually found the whole process of self-reflection and quiet and open book and blank page. Really, really good. And I smashed out 25 new songs. So
Wow.
It was a really incredible time for me. Mainly because I keep myself so bloody busy. A little bit ADHD, but you get that. Dave, for the second part of that question.
Well, I mean, look, I just felt that we had the choice. And I think it's like anything in life, you've got the choice to either look at the negative and dwell in the negative, or go, okay, well, how can we create a positive out of this? I mean, there was so much negativity going at the time, especially in the music industry, as you know. We were one of the only industries that literally disappeared overnight, gone. Yep. So, and there are a lot of people going, well, woe is us. And I kind of went the other way. I went, okay, well, how do we make this work? Because I'd been dabbling in Welter online for quite a few years anyway, and I've been building up our online presence and learning about online marketing, learning how to build platforms and all that sort of stuff. This whole live streaming thing kind of kicked in, and we'd done live streams where we got our mobile phone out like everybody does and plonk it on a stand and go live on Facebook through a mobile phone, and that worked okay through gigs and things like that. But when it came to lockdown, I noticed that there were the odd artist. There was still, most people were still doing that with the phone, but there was the odd artist I caught that I was going, hold on, what are they doing? Because the audio sounds really good, and this is like, wow, this is broadcasting. So I started to really look into how to do this, and we ended up really killing two birds with one stone, because once I worked out how to do it, and we invested a little bit of money, and I kind of bought all the gear, it allowed us to do live streaming like you're hearing now. We've got multiple cameras. Elliott and I are in the one room here, even though we've got two cameras on. I'm very
impressed by that. Did not know that.
Yeah, we're fully mic'd. Look, if Elle leans over, you can see we're shaking hands.
That's killer.
And so we are completely and fully mic'd. So I kind of went, well, look, this is great. He's just written 25 new songs. We can't go anywhere. So let's start recording. Let's start doing pre-production. So not only have we spent 12 months or a year and a half doing pre-production with our producer, Tony Wall, we've been live streaming as well. And we do it every Wednesday at 10 a.m. We do Welter Wednesday. We're streaming live around the world. And we're getting a following with that as well. Now we're opening back up, we've gone, yeah, but this is relevant. This is really important, because before, when you go to a gig, you're just playing to the people that are inside the room. When we're doing live streaming, we're playing to the world potentially, and there's a real power in that. It's great to be on live stream and seeing comments coming from New York, and it also allows us to bring guests on. We had a guest on last week who is based in New York, in Woodstock. And I think that's real powerful, because then you can actually start using and sharing your fans with one another too. So I think we won't ever stop live streaming.
It really is inspirational talking to you both. It's fantastic. One more piece of music, if you'd be so kind, before we finish.
Sure.
And again, the first time I heard this, and even the title, before knowing what the content of the song was, I surmised and completely agree. And the human condition is, if you cease to marvel at it, you've really lost interest in life, because we are the most mercurial, alchemic beings on the face of the earth. I work with animals all the time, and horses and dogs are my favorite. And I quite often say, when people have done something despicable, that humans are my least favorite mammal by a long way, but they're also infinitely intriguing. So going back to the fact that we are 90% water, and we're affected by so many things. The minute I heard the title and then heard the song, I thought, I'm amazed nobody's actually written this before. But I think this is a brilliant piece of music. It's a very, very cool look into the things that make us much more than the sum of our parts.
When I first wrote this, I was, it's a good sort of scientific idea. but I knew I'd hit on a great song when, and you'd know this, James, when you get the scanning of the second verse right to match the scanning of the first verse. And, you know, so
Second verse good.
When I put the two together, I was jumping out of my chair. I was so happy because just getting those minute little words together to make it happen. So I wasn't actually concerned with the actual context of the song. I was actually concerned with the minutiae of actually joining these two. Because you write yourself a really tricky melodic line, and you go, "How the hell am I going to match that with the next verse?" Might make it simple. Just might scream over the top of it or something like that.
Yeah. Instrumental.
Can't do it. It's just once time only. There you go. Don't get jaded yet. We have only started. Your laugh cut in half. You stop playing the clown. Maybe it was me who was the one that should not have stuck around. You and I are made up of mostly water. We ought to float despite skin and bone. You and I are made up of mostly water. You can't keep your head above the waves. Carry out a heart of stone. Your skin's iced. Jesus Christ. Why are you near freezing? You hide, you inside. Everything used to be right. Now you are afraid of going out on your own into the night. You and I are made up of mostly water. We are to float despite skin and bone. You and I are made up of mostly water. But you can't keep your head above the waves. Carry out a heart of stone. Carry on a heart of stone. Carry on at sea. Carry on a heart of stone. Carry on at sea. You and I are made up of mostly water. We are to float despite skin and bone. You and I are made up of mostly water. But you can't keep your head. You can't keep your head. You and I are made up of mostly water. You can't keep your head above the waves.
Elliott Weston, Dave Williams, it has been an absolute pleasure. But it's been incredibly stimulating from a professional perspective. I feel like I've just been through a masterclass. I'm going, these guys have got their shit together. Beautiful, beautiful songs, great camaraderie. This is why so many people around the planet love music, because it's so much more than just the finished product of the song. There's all the soul connection and all of the energy transfers that go with it. It's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to speak with you, and thank you so much for joining Down on the Farm. And as you both well know, you never know who's watching. I get the most remarkable comments from people around Broken Hill or someone who's got a decent service up in the Territory, and they go, I saw this thing the other day and it was really interesting. So you never know where you're going to have to wind up touring next. Perhaps Camberwell, maybe Alice Springs, a couple of the places that are just those place names on the map that you guys snake by, according to Andy Kelly. No, it's just been well. You'd have to read his quote. It was much better than that.
James, it's been a pleasure joining you today out on the farm and just having a connection into Queensland. I'm just loving it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to hear the new music. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That is Welter, and this is Down on the Farm, and I'd like to thank our remarkable sponsors, Aussie Legends Hemp, Stylish Outback Clothing, and the Granite Belt Brewery. Down on the Farm is on the Punctured Media YouTube channel. Click the red button to subscribe, and we will be back with new and exciting guests next time round. Take it easy. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
I got my education